Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now. Good morning, Bix Weir, road2root.com with your morning horn disease, your sip of chaga coffee. All right, for those who haven't seen it yet, on the private road, I posted a video of certain times that are probably the most likely time frame for the big bombs to come down on the financial system, on the destruction of the old system and the rebuild and things like that. Go check that out. It's on the private road at road2root.com, and part of that has to do with this. A nod of urgency. Aides for Biden and McCarthy hold late-night talks on debt ceiling talks. We were hearing all day yesterday, oh, yeah, they've come to an agreement. Oh, they're close to an agreement. Our inside sources say. It'll be interesting. Now, my contention is that this is so much bigger than this debt ceiling ridiculousness. If you want more blame to be put on the people in Congress, yeah, you do, don't pass the debt ceiling. Janet Yellen has said 16 banks will fail if the debt ceiling is not passed. The funny thing is, if you guys watched the FDIC meetings, they've been planning this for a long time. So it's not 16 banks, by the way. It's all 5,000 banks. So, but it might not happen instantly. If they do try to close down 16 banks without insuring the uninsured depositors, you will see a run on every bank in the world. You could not write a better scenario for this. We're going to be able to blame the banks. Obviously, that's the easy one to blame. The Congress people, obviously, that's the easy one to blame. And those are the two big problems. That's the deep state. So, yeah. And Biden's getting out of town this weekend for the G7 meeting. But he cut short his trip to, I think he was going somewhere else. And he's coming back. Who cares where Joe Biden is? I mean, does he really make any decision? Maybe to what kind of toast he has with his breakfast. That's about the biggest decision that guy can make. They trot out the fake Biden all the time. So it'll be interesting if how much of the blame for the implosion of the system that Congress wants to take. Now, Dick Allgaier and the remote viewing guys they were viewing the death of the dollar, and it was a congressional thing. Guys coming out of Congress keeled over and said it's over. Everything's over. The congressional system of the United States of America is done. And that coincides with the death of the dollar. This could be it. There's so many other reasons that this could happen, but go check out that private road posting on the most likely days and times. I love this. Miller Lite is on the crosshairs now for a commercial. They did a woke kind of commercial, and they tried to pull it off really fast. As they saw Bud Light get destroyed, but Miller Lite was just as bad. Go check it out. It's on Zero Hedge. They showed the commercial. I'm not going to show it because it'll probably ding me for copyright infringement or some ridiculousness on YouTube. YouTube has gone. I mean, there will be a time in the very near future that YouTube will delete and censor anything related to silver. And that's going to be a hard time for the Road to Root, because instantly they're going to deplatform me. So make sure you go to road2root.com, put your name and email address in for the free public road updates on the website, road2root.com. Put your name and email in, and you'll get our daily, sometimes twice a day, sometimes once every other day, posts about what's going on and links to where I'm posting videos. Very important to keep track with the Road to Root, because depending on how bad it is right now, and I'm going to go over this in a second, the controllers can control the price of silver. They've been controlling the price of silver for over 170 years, but right now they can still do it. In a point in the near future, the good guys within the Federal Reserve, within the U.S. Treasury, who are trying to take our country back, will stop the ability for the riggers to keep doing what they're doing. It's very easy to do. As a matter of fact, you don't need to do anything. You just have to stop the the cover-up of the rigging. Now, there's one massive silver short now that's emerging that is not part of the commercials. I think it's BlackRock. It's definitely not a bank. And I think it's BlackRock because BlackRock runs and owns the SLV, the largest silver inventory, known silver inventory in the world. LBMA is a joke. It's not really an inventory. So I think it's BlackRock, and yes, BlackRock will go down if the debt ceiling issue isn't covered. So what happens when a third party who has a massive silver short position goes down? Voila, bang. It literally destroys everything. And that's where we're headed. So I'm very excited about that. Yes, I am excited about destroying a criminal, corrupt system that is based on market manipulation, based on wars when we get into financial troubles. That's amazing. The only reason we're not in that Ukraine war right now is because the good guys are in charge of this. Usually, the bad guys will take us to war to get rid of their financial problems. Always. Every war in history has been caused by the banking cabal, the deep state, the bad guys. And now that's not allowed to happen. So really interesting times. And I love it. Absolutely. So, all right. Yeah, they're going to ban Miller Lite, which is great. Miller Lite. It's great because the woke philosophy is completely doing a 180, turning around and from everybody's supporting him to everybody is showing the fraud for what it is, the deep state control, the machine that had the mind f with us. By the way, and living in California, this is very difficult. We're seeing I'm already seeing people say, "Oh, what's happening? What's happening?" They want someone to blame now for their stupidity of not thinking for themselves. And they're going to get people to blame. They're going to blame the banks. Oh, can you imagine Elizabeth Warren coming out against the banks as they crash? The key is we cannot turn to regulators and Congress to fix the problem of individual stupidity. They're gonna come after your silver. They're gonna come after your gold. They're gonna come after everything that represents something true and honest, and that won't get destroyed in the collapse of everything else. So here's what I want to talk about in silver. Yes, silver's still under control. This is a key time frame, 2020, a key time frame in how silver manipulation is. The new form of silver manipulation came about. Ginny and I had talked about this. Ginny Moonstone and I had talked about this for a long time on our private road videos. That Ginny was like, something new is happening. Something new is being made to rig the price of silver. And I can show you exactly what it is, as a matter of fact. Really interesting. Just to note, people ask me a lot about the gold-silver ratio, and it went up to like 125, something ridiculous, and now it's hovering at 80 something. That ratio will come down to 1-to-1 fairly quickly if it is a freely traded market. I do think a freely traded silver market is coming 1-to-1 because there's 6 billion ounces of each above ground. Now, the gold is easy to get and throw into the market. 6 billion ounces, easy, because it's all stored underground in vaults and shit like that. Silver is not easy to come to market, the 6 billion ounces. It's in your silverware, it's in your fillings, it's in all these things that would need to come back into the market and remove from something else. Silver, just pull it out of the vault, or gold, just pull it out of the vault, and you're set. And there's massively more gold than they tell us. And I've talked about that a lot. So that's where we are. But people do ask me, what's the difference between 2008, 2011, and today? So 2008, silver hit $50. They blame the Hunt brothers. Blame whoever you want. That's fine. They changed the rules on the COMEX. 2011, silver almost hit $50, and that was JP Morgan Chase rigging the price higher to start an artificial bear market. The big difference between 1980, sorry. It wasn't 2008. 1980, when silver hit $50. Yes, 1980. How much money have they created since 1980? I rest my case. Anyway, it hit $50 in 1980. It hit $50 in 2011. or right at $50. I think both just below. In 1980, it was a quick thing, and they blame the Hunt brothers. But the key there, the key difference is that when silver hit $50, the gold silver ratio didn't get skewed like it did in 2011. And you can see right here, silver hit $50, gold hit 800. So what is that? Got to 16 to 1, 17 to 1. Was it? Yeah, 16, 17, 18 to 1. But look at the price right here of gold, this gold line, versus the price of silver. They diverged. Back in 2011, they didn't diverge. Gold was allowed to move up over 2 times what its 1980 high was, and silver was not until the last second. So by the time silver hit $50 in 2011, gold was already up at close to $2,000, as opposed to 2000. How did I use that? As opposed to 1980 when gold stayed at $800. So there's a huge difference, and you can see how much manipulation. And then ever since 2011, there's been a gigantic shift in the price suppression of silver versus the price suppression of gold. Bankers don't care about gold price suppression. They care not. I care not who makes the money. They don't care because they know there's massive amounts of gold. They know they own most of the gold. The banks own most of the gold. Silver is a different deal. Silver has to be price suppressed for the system to stay intact. And that's exactly what they do. That's why I'm a big fan of buying as much physical silver as possible. Because when this game is over and the artificial manipulation ends, that beach ball has been held underwater for over 170 years. Nobody knows the price, the true fair market value of silver. But they will find out very soon. And I think that's the most exciting thing about the silver market. Yes, I know all the supply stuff. I mean, look at just solar panels are supposed to use 100% of silver in the next 25 years. 100% of silver. No silver for electric cars, no silver for computers, no silver for your iPhone, no silver for anything else but the solar panels. It's insane. The whole thing is insane. And the insanity can easily be seen. As a matter of fact, Morgan Stanley just came out with a report that says $7 trillion are needed to rewire electric vehicle supply chain in a multipolar world. So the reality of having solar go throughout the entire world to be the next source of energy, and at the same time electric cars be the source of transportation, both of them within just a few decades will need 100% of the silver. Silver doesn't change that much coming out of the ground, if you've noticed. In the last 10 years, it hasn't changed at all. Because there's not that many secret silver mines around. And it's very difficult to increase the production of silver, especially at such a low price. Now, if the price of silver jacks up massively, yeah, more silver will come into market, but not enough to cover electric vehicles and solar panels and everything that silver is needed for. So Morgan Stanley is starting to realize this. They put out a report. Let me read a little bit of it. The automotive industry is undergoing a major transformation from petrol to diesel cars to electric vehicles with significant implications for the Western auto supply chains. Morgan Stanley's global director of research, Katie Huberty, told clients in a note on Tuesday that her global autos research desk forecasts a complete rewiring of the EV battery supply chain through the lens of a multipolar world will require $7 trillion of investment by 2040. $7 trillion, and all of that investment requires massive amounts of silver. Anywhere from the charging stations to how they get that energy in the first place, how there's just so much. Nobody knows how much silver is used in an electric car. The official number is like 1.5 ounces per car because that will fit the projection narrative for the next 10 years. It's not. Some people are estimating 30 ounces per Tesla. I think that's a little high, but we all know silver is the best conductor of electricity. You want to make the best electric car in the world, you use a lot of silver. My guess is 8 to 10 ounces, which is way more than we will have in the future. So Morgan Stanley says something's wrong, and it's not about the demand side. It's not about getting people into electric cars. It's about where you're going to get the material to change the world, to rewire the world. And you'll hear a lot of talk about lithium and other parts of the battery for electric cars. You hear very little about how much silver is used in those batteries, and it's a lot. And the wiring and everything within electric cars is screaming, where are you going to get the silver? Where are you going to get the silver? Where are you going to get the silver? So it would definitely entering into a very odd world. And speaking of odd worlds, here's what today, for you silver people interested, I found a new conspiracy. My God, how many is that now? 1,000 millions conspiracies about silver. So I'm always thinking about this new way they're rigging the silver price for the past 3 years. Literally, ever since JP Morgan got busted for rigging the silver market, they had to have something new. And what that new thing was that a lot of us saw in the OCC data, Ted Butler has pointed out that Bank of America or JP Morgan actually accumulated over 1 billion. He was estimated 1.2 billion ounces of physical silver. And you get that through the delivery data. I mean, Ted's been watching the delivery data every day for the past 40 years. Where's the physical silver going to? Don't worry about price. Where's the physical silver going? It was going into the warehouses of JP Morgan for decades, at least during the time they were rigging the markets. So that's what they did. They shorted silver on the COMEX, and then they bought the physical stuff. And they could say, hey, it's a legitimate hedge. We have 1.2 billion ounces of physical silver. Now, they didn't disclose any of this in their financial reporting, which is massively illegal. If they don't talk about the risk of losing their silver position, well, it's just another illegal thing that these banks do. They don't report how much gold and silver they have. So there. So I went back in time in the Wayback Machine, and I found this article about Bank of America, who is, if you guys know, they leased the silver from JP Morgan right after JP Morgan got busted in 2020. So JP Morgan gets busted. They have to, I think behind the scenes, they have to get rid of their silver. What do? They lease it to Bank of America. Now, at the time, Bank of America, as you can tell from the OCC reports right here, Bank of America, this is mainly silver, back when they used to separate it. They only had $173 million worth of silver derivatives. Like nothing. That is nothing. That's probably real for their clients. That is absolutely nothing. But then what happened is over that time frame, it jumped to $27 billion worth of silver, which is more silver. That's almost the exact amount of silver. This was in 2021. So just 2 years later, they have 1.2 billion ounces of silver hedged on their derivative book. That's silver shorts because they were borrowing, taking leases out on JP Morgan silver. And then we don't know where that physical silver actually went, truthfully. But isn't it a huge coincidence that at the same time JP Morgan was getting busted by the DOJ, Bank of America all of a sudden builds this massive silver position? And right before that, they said, Biden's green stimulus would send silver soaring to $50, says Bank of America. Already serving silver prices could get a boost from if former Vice President Joe Biden wins the 2020 election. They knew what was going to happen. Bank of America said silver's going to soar because the very reason they posted this is because they knew they could suppress the price of silver with the 1.2 billion ounces coming out of JP Morgan. It is so obvious when you look. And that's why when they said it, they had no silver derivatives. And then they were able to short 1.2 billion ounces of silver derivatives right here. It's right in the data from the OCC. Now compare this to what the Hunt brothers did with. They only had 100 million ounces of physical and about 110 million ounces of silver long positions on the COMEX. 100 million ounces of physical. Fast forward to what JP Morgan did, 1.2 billion ounces of physical. And then Bank of America leases out 1.2 billion ounces of physical silver. Where are the regulators? If the Hunt brothers were so offsides back in 40 years ago, Wouldn't JP Morgan be offsides? Wouldn't Bank of America be offsides? Of course, unless the regulators are in on the con. And we know that they are in on the con. How do we know they are in on the con? This. Right in 2022. 2020. So what happened was at some point, Bank of America has to close out those $1.2 billion in derivatives. And I think it's a fix back in and accounting gimmicks. But it would show up massively in the data, so they changed the data. The Office of Comptroller of Currencies changed how the data was reported in the beginning of 2022, because everybody was onto their con. So all they did was move gold from FX reporting to silver, so that gold massively outshone what was going on in silver. So now we don't know what is going on in the Bank of America silver derivative book. But if what I was thinking is actually true, it should have gone down massively, because these are 1-year leases and they keep getting rolled over. And that's exactly what has happened. If you include the gold or if you don't include the gold, we can't see. It could be, too, that the silver derivatives are now way higher than the 28 billion. But we're not allowed to see that, because the OCC, Office of Comptroller of Currency, the large bank supervision is run by a guy named Greg Coleman. Greg Coleman at the OCC, this is a U.S. regulator, came from JP Morgan. You can't make this crap up. And here's where JP Morgan is. As far as the things we know about their lawsuit, they came to an agreement. They pleaded guilty to rigging the silver market, the gold market, and the treasury market. On September 29th. It was actually signed, I think, on September 20th of 2020. But along with this agreement, they signed a deferred prosecution agreement, meaning they can't do anything with criminal within the silver market for 3 years. So how long do you think the JP Morgan leases to Bank of America are? I guarantee you they were 3 years long. And they end at the end of September. September 20th would be the 3 year. This is how these criminals play this game. Everything's under control until it's not. And I think this might be enough. Not passing the debt ceiling, which will collapse the banking system, would finally be enough to take out these criminals. But we'll find out, right? We'll find out. So if you're interested in the JP Morgan case, go to the DOJ website. Just type in JP Morgan pays $920 million. Read the deferred prosecution agreement. This is the most important thing, because JP Morgan has not been playing much at all in the silver market outside of their own account. All their customers are, because that's what they just pretend it's the customers. But that ends on September, I think it's the 20th. Let's see. Let's go to the bottom and see if they have the date. This is a huge deferred prosecution agreement. Like many pages and references. I don't think this one is dated, but I think it's September 20th. Filed 9/29, but I think the date is September 20th. I would love it. It was September 11th. That just would have been the cherry on top. But yeah, go check it out if you're interested in silver. What does this all mean, Bix? What does it all mean? It means buy as much physical silver as you can get your hands on. There is no metric in the world other than COMEX pricing that says silver should be anywhere below $200, $300, $400 an ounce. Anywhere below that. I think it's going to 6, 7, 8. I think it's 1-to-1 with gold at when free market trading is allowed. But nothing on the planet points to a silver gold ratio of 80-to-1. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And the regulators are far too stupid or far too corrupt. Remember, 2 of the CFTC regulators, one comes from JP Morgan, one comes from Citibank, 2 of the big silver riggers. And Rustin Benham, we all know what he wants to do. He wants to tamp down the price of silver. He said it out loud. We tamped down the price of silver. The market structure tamped down the price of silver. That is illegal on the COMEX, because the COMEX cannot be a price maker. It has to be a price taker. If the COMEX is doing things, the COMEX is futures and options of silver, to greatly affect like tamp down the price of silver. That's what he's supposed to be looking for, because it's illegal. It's illegal for silver derivatives to influence the price. Silver derivatives are just solely supposed to be for hedging. And then there should be a little bit of market making type of thing, trading in it. It shouldn't influence price the way it did to tamp down the market, because, oh my God, heaven forbid the price of silver go over $30. And this is the head of the CFTC, Rustam Binham. So that's where we are, my friends. Lots more to come. Get your physical silver, get in your own possession. If you don't have a local guy, go meet your local guy, because you're going to be selling your silver to him. You're going to be taking your one dime and going to get $10,000 for your dime, and you're going to go buy a car with your dime, your pre-65 dime. So get to know your local guys. If you don't have a local guy, I understand a lot of people don't want to talk to people, can't trust anybody. Yeah, never trust a silver dealer. I used to always scream that until you get to know them and know if they're trustworthy. And that's what we did at Road to Road. We got to know Andy Scheckman of Miles Franklin. Andy has done an amazing job for the Road to Road people to get them into physical, and in a large way. By the way, great discussion Chris Marcus and Andy Scheckman had. Go check that out at Arcadia Economics, where they talk a little about why so much money is now going into gold instead of silver. Well, not instead, but silver is doing well, but gold all of a sudden got a big jump up. Everyone's, got to get gold, got to get gold. I think the number one reason, and they were talking about the amount of for the big money, they can't carry around $100,000 worth of silver. They can carry around $100,000 worth of gold. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's the premiums on silver are so massive now because there's so little silver out there that people are looking for the next best thing. And the next best thing to silver is gold, even though it's a far cry from what silver can do. But the premiums, the average premium just on generic rounds is like $3 to $4. That's massive when you look at the price of silver is only $25. You can get a much smaller premium if you buy gold. So at some point when the price of gold and silver are 1-to-1, you'll be able to carry the same amount of gold and the same amount of silver, but you'll have a hell of a lot more value in what you buy today at 80-to-1. So if you have gold, swap it for 80 ounces of silver. Are you crazy? Are you crazy, my man? Anyway, that's what I got for you today. Lots coming down the pike on the private road. I think I'm be talking to Janie Moonstone tomorrow. Not quite sure. She's had bad back, so we'll figure that out, and definitely be posting a lot on the private road. So go check it out, roadtoruta.com. Get yourself a silver Road to Ruta coin. It'll pay for the subscription, in my opinion, over time. This is Bix. I'll talk to you later.